Hey everybody out there, it's Brank here bringing you a video on Pokemon Go, the hottest game, the hottest mobile game right now. What we've got here is we're going to go through the top 10 tips that I've personally picked out of what I think are the most important things to know or the most important things to understand about Pokemon Go, and hopefully it'll help you guys out to get you a little bit higher level, a little bit faster leveling, or a little bit higher Pokemon in the game. So here we go. Basically, our top 10 tips we've got: pay attention. Number one, always pay attention. And I'm not talking about in Pokemon, but that's important too. But pay attention to your real surroundings. Don't walk in parking lots without, maybe putting your headphones in or something so that you can hear if a Pokemon's available or around you or a Pokestop. But don't just walk into traffic with your phone out looking down. That's extremely dangerous. So keep in mind what's going on around you: cars, traffic, other pedestrians, poles, fire hydrants, curbs, anything like that. Don't just go walking out and in there. Tip number 2, save your evolves. You will get evolves by getting enough Pokemon candy to be able to evolve, certain types of Pokemon into the next stage of Pokemon. For instance, your Eeves that you're picking up, or your Eeves will turn into the 3 different types of Pokemon. So what you want to do is, the reason you want to save these evolves is because they're worth XP. And it also goes along with my next tip, which is tip number 3, save your incense. Now, what you want to do is save your incense and your evolves for when you are sitting at a Pokestop near a lure, so that you can use your lucky eggs. That's the whole point in this, is you want to use your lucky eggs, evolve your stuff, and also at the same time, after evolving, you're going to be using your incense and sitting at a lured Pokestop. So you're collecting tons of Pokemon because you got the incense going. You're collecting tons of Pokemon because you're at a lured Pokestop, and you're getting a ton of XP from turning those evolved Pokemon, or evolving those Pokemon that you currently have. So that's the reason you want to save everything up for when you're sitting at a spot that you can capture Pokemon, you can evolve stuff, you can, even if you're close to a gym, you could do battling, which also gives you XP, and that's all going towards while you're having that lucky egg running. So tips 3 and 4, or tips 2 and 3, evolve, save your evolve, save your incense for when you're using your lucky eggs. Tip number 4, play with friends, even if they're not part of the same faction. And the reason you want to do this is because your friends, let's say you're part of Team Instinct, you're yellow, and your friend is part of Valor, which is red. If you're at a gym and the gym happens to be yellow, well, your friend could actually take the gym over and claim it for red, which means you then get to battle that gym and then put your own Pokemon in it, or vice versa. If the gym is red, you can battle it. It helps to be able to knock down a level on a gym for your friend just below the previous prestige level. And the reason you want to do this is because if you knock it down to just below that previous level, your friend, all he has to do, let's say he was yellow and the gym is yellow, he can fight just a little bit to bring the prestige back up to that next level, but you knocked out that lowest Pokemon that was in there, which means your friend can then place his Pokemon in there. So you want to keep in mind, it's actually not a bad thing to be in part of different factions. Granted, if there's a really tough gym and you need basically the manpower or the firepower to push through it and to be able to take that gym, yeah, you're going to want to all be on the same team. So make friends with people that are playing Pokemon, because even if there are other factions, it's going to help you out. Tip number 5, find 2 or 3, if you can, if it's possible, Pokestops near where you live, that you could basically walk back and forth to, so that you're just collecting the Pokestops. You're going to be collecting those Pokeballs, you're going to be collecting revives, potions. And the reason you want to do it between those 2 is because you have to move away from one Pokestop to be able to move into the other Pokestop, so that you have the basically a 5-minute time difference in between, which is how long it takes for those Pokestops to reset. So every 5 minutes, you're going to be walking back and forth between these two Pokestops, getting your collections of balls or whatever you're getting at those Pokestops. So find a couple spots in between you that's easy distance to walk between, and you're also leveling up your eggs or patching your eggs at the same time. Tip number 6. While you're under level 5, you can't pick a gym, or you can't pick a team yet. But what you can do is check out the gyms or near your location that you're going to be kind of hanging around and using the Pokestops near. What this is important for is you want to make sure that those Pokestops, that you pick a team when you are 5 and you're able to pick a team, that you pick a team that's at least kind of contending in that area. If you always see the gym as blue or red, you probably shouldn't pick Team Yellow. You can if you want a real difficult time at it, you can, absolutely. But remember, it's going to be a more difficult time. You're not going to have much help in that area. If you see it go between blue and red a lot, maybe pick blue or red. That way you have some people in the area that are fighting for those gyms. This isn't a hard, fast rule. Obviously, some people like playing it different ways. My suggestion, though, if you want to make it just, not easy on yourself, but a little bit easier on yourself, pick the faction that's at least a contender in your area. Okay, tip number 7, walk to leaves. The leaves that you see on your map while you're looking at your icon, at your avatar, are where Pokemon are basically spawning, and you'll see them show up on that map as these little tiny leaves that kind of puff out of the ground. What you want to do is go towards those leaves and wait a minute or so. Just kind of hang out there a second, because a lot of times it takes a minute for the servers, because right now they're fairly slow, to kind of update. So just give it a few seconds, maybe a minute, maybe 2 minutes at the most. If it doesn't spawn at that point, it's probably nothing there. But for the most part, those leaves are important because that's showing you either where the Pokemon are, or kind of the direction that you want to head in to capture Pokemon. Tip number 8, use the raspberries and great balls when you can on higher level Pokemon. Obviously, on a low level CP Pokemon, it's not going to be that important, and they're usually fairly easy to catch. And what you want to keep in mind is when you first click on these Pokemon, you'll see that ring that appears around them. It'll either be green, yellow, orange, or red. And basically the colors mean how difficult it's going to be to catch. And what using Great Balls and Raspberries do is it increases the chance at which you have to catch that Pokemon. So what happens is if I use a raspberry on one, you'll see the color might go from a red to an orange, or orange to a yellow. If I then pick the super balls, it might go from yellow to or orange to yellow, or red to orange also. So it decreases that color around the ring, which is the difficulty of catching that Pokemon. So that's why you want to keep in mind and to use those raspberries and the super balls that you get, or the great balls that you get to capture the Pokemon. Tip number 9, always have your incubators full. The incubators are important because the more of them you have, the more Pokemon you can hatch at any given time. And the reason that the hatching the Pokemon is important is because for most of them that I've hatched so far, you get 25 candies. Like when you catch a normal Pokemon in the wild, if I catch a Sandshrew in the wild, it's going to get you 3 candies, and then if you transfer it to the doctor, you're going to get another 1 candy. So you basically get only 4 candies per, whereas if you hatch a Pokemon, generally from what I've seen, they're higher level to start, and they give you 25 candies to start, which means if it's a lower level Pokemon or a lower evolved Pokemon, like a Sandshrew, it's going to give you 25 candies, which gets you halfway to being able to evolve that. So it's important to hatch them. And part of hatching them is also walking, which is why in the other tip I suggested walking between 2 of the Pokestops that you can, because the more distance you get in there, the faster those eggs are going to hatch, and the faster you're going to have more candies to be able to evolve your Pokemon and be able to level your Pokemon up, because at a certain point, your Pokemon cost Stardust and candies, their own type of candies, and eventually it becomes it starts at 1 and it becomes 2 candies per to level it up. So tip number 10, talk with people who are also out there playing Pokemon Go. The reason you want to do this is a few things. One, you'll find people are usually really helpful and they might have some tips out there that you didn't know about. Two, you could set up lures between each other. For instance, like I said in the other tip, you have 2 Pokestops. Maybe one person could set up a lure at one spot, you could set up the lure at the other spot, and you guys just basically go back and forth between those 2 spots. You're capturing all these Pokemon between these two spots, and you only had to set up 1 lure. So it's a great advantage for both of the people or the group of people that you know, kind of communicate and talk with each other. Also, even if they, like I said in the other part, if they're part of different factions, that doesn't necessarily mean a bad thing. They could help you take out. Maybe the red team is what you're part of, and they've got this gym kind of locked up, and there's no way you're going to get enough prestige to level that gym up. Well, maybe the blue team is there. They could take over that gym, and then you could fight their Pokemon. Something like that. It's always just a good thing to get to talk to people. It's not, you know, to me, it's not really a super competitive game. It is a fun game, and it is a game that you do want to win at, but it's not something you're going to, you know, get upset or get angry about. So that's it. That's my top 10 tips. Last tip is always have fun. And if there's any comments you guys have or suggestions, please post them in the comments below. I'm sorry I've been away for a while. My system was down and a lot of other things going on in real life, but I'm back up here putting up videos. This is my first Pokemon video, and I'm actually probably going to come up with a line of instructional Pokemon videos here pretty soon that explain a little bit more of the details on how to do some of the tips that we covered here and some of the other things like the gym battles and you know, specifics on capturing Pokemon and areas where Pokemon are more likely to be and stuff like that. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Have a good one.